What is the single most you'll understand it when you're older thing? Health issues. I know I've been genetically lucky, but after 20, random shit just starts happening for no reason. It's like Daryl developing a soy allergy at 35. Who develops a soy allergy at 35? That the quality rather than quantity of friends matters. I'd rather have 4 quarters in my pocket than 100 pennies. That's a great phrase. I love it. High school drama isn't important. Like, at all. This is very true. That said, some people will carry their high school behavior with them into the adult world, and especially into the workplace. So it's important to keep your guard up and learn how to deal with those types. Which makes me want to say that high school drama is important, in that it is kind of a learning curve, so that we learn how to behave properly as adults. But some people just don't actually learn. Understanding why your parents wanted you to go play with the awkward kid, or why they were so keen to help you make friends. It's beyond annoying as a kid when your parents try to guide who make friends with, but most parents instinctually know that bad social habits start early, are hard to break, and can be a real burden when you are older. My mom never liked my friend group and it really annoyed me. Looking back, half of them were assholes anyway and the other half were already doing things that led them into a life of drug addiction after high school. I never got into drinking and drugs like that, but everyone around me was doing it and I had every opportunity to. Looking back, she was just looking out for me, and even though she didn't have proof of what we were doing, she was just an adult who had lived and could tell it wasn't a good group of friends. I have no idea how I made it to where I'm today. Not that I have a crazy awesome life, but considering the opportunity I had for ducking up, it's a little surprising. From 15 to 18 I was kind of a delinquent. Never got caught, but I was still doing some stuff. Lots of underage drinking, and lots of weed. Most my friends that I hung out with outside of school were not good influences, but I graduated, left for college, and never went back. So many times where life could have gone another way. How many people have a kid thinking it's going to fix their relationship? One too many. Can we get McDonald's? No, we have food at home. My so is in his 30s, and I still have to tell him that, lol. I have to tell myself this pretty regularly too, at this age. The reason I tell myself it though is because I know I'm going to eat it and feel like an absolute trash can afterwards. Now I understand why my mom would order us Happy Meals and get herself nothing, haha. Friendships fading away. I remember my dad telling me all kinds of cool stories about things him and his friends did in the past. I even asked him, why aren't you still friends with these people? He really did basically say it's complicated. You'll understand when you're older. Even back then I remember thinking that's crazy. Me and my friends will always be friends. Apostrophe. Sitting here now in my early 30s and it really hits home. Losing best friends is the hardest. Why it's so annoying when you forget to take the chicken out of the freezer. I, too, will be ordering pizza tonight. Why elderly people in nursing homes who get no visitors are so lonely and filled with despair. We had to put my mom in a home because we physically could not care for her anymore. She didn't want to be there and we didn't want her to be, but there weren't any other options. My dad was there every day until he got sick and died. My sister and I stopped in a couple of times a week each. The last month of her life I was there every day. I hope she knew I did the best I could to take care of her. Not helping every person who says they're in need. Some folks will con your ass. Lighter side of this, no matter how much you want to, you can't help everyone, especially if they are not ready to accept your help. It is possible to do everything right and still fail. Don't let it consume you. Pick up the pieces and move on. I had to learn this after a project that I was on for 3 years was sabotaged and shitcanned. I did some amazing work and poured my life into that project. In the end I had nothing to show for it. It put me in a real slump for a few years. I'm still trying to pull myself out of it without becoming a cynical and jaded asshole. Data learned this lesson from Captain Jane Luckpickard, and so did I. Wow. Thanks for my first awards. For people still wondering, the episode this occurs in is S2E21, Peak Performance. I actually learned a lot of life lessons from Star Trek. Hand-me-downs. I absolutely hated them. Even though my grandma was a genius with them. Dyeing. Artistic patches. New buttons. They just didn't last compared to the new clothes my older sister had. Then I had 3 boys in 6 years. I'm seriously grateful that my grandma tried so hard to make my hand-me-downs look good. I get it now. The quiet, boring, simple times are the best. Everyone's fed, happy, healthy, chill, napping. These are the good times. Very true. Time. Wasting time. And how time flies. It's mid-deck and I'm saying to myself, what the heck, it's been 9 months of COVID and I can't believe this year is almost over. As you age it seems to go faster and faster. When I was younger I felt like time just dragged on some days. I can remember when I was school age. The year seemed to drag on forever. Then when it did end we had the 6 weeks holidays. 6 whole weeks. With hour upon hour of sunshine. Towards the end of it school was but a distant memory. It felt like it would never end. Of course it always did when September finally arrived. Now I work at a school and it's terrifying how quickly we blaze through each term. Those same holidays are over in a flash. I think it's because now I'm older I'm consciously worried about making the most of the time off. Not wasting it. When I was young the biggest worry was whether my friends and I would play in the woods or on the fell that day. Time wasn't a worry. We thought we had all the time in the world. Sleep is no punishment, it's a gift. Yup, I used to dislike nap times when I was in kindergarten. Now that I'm older, I wish I could take a nap here and there during my work days. The sound of your joints exploding every time you get up. Man, I've been getting that since I was in high school. Why my parents would look disgusted eating/drinking anything that was sweet. I never understood why they watered down juice until now. When adults said something was too sweet, I literally couldn't comprehend that phrase. It was an oxymoron to me. Sweet equals good. How can something be too good? Question mark? Question mark? Now I completely understand. Something a little more lighthearted. But about half the jokes on cartoons like SpongeBob take on a whole new light once you've got more experience under your belt. You either die a SpongeBob or live long enough to become a Squidward. Man, nuts to that sponge. Squidward has to put up with an immature, unaware coworker who even on his days off won't leave him the hell alone. He just wanted some goddamn peace and quiet. What parents sacrifice just so you can do something fun. Last night my husband and I sat in a line of cars for an hour and a half so our kids could see this cheesy drive-through light display in my town with Santa and other characters. 0 tenths not worth it for us, but the kids loved it and it was worth it to see them be able to do a fun Christmas activity during a pandemic. It made me think of how much my parents had to endure taking my brother and I to theme parks and stuff as a kid just to see us happy. I appreciate it infinitely more now. When I was pregnant I went to visit my hometown and my friends threw a baby shower for me. And I also had a few birthday presents from people for my birthday the month before. When I was packing to go home, there wasn't room for the baby stuff plus the stuff for me. So I took home all the baby stuff and left my presents behind for my granny to bring up at a later date. And I remember sitting there looking at my suitcase being like, oh, so this is how it's going to be. Literally getting older. Never thought much about when adults would say you're still young. Just enjoy it. I always wanted to be older because I was tired of HS. Wanted to be out of college, etc. Now I want aging to slow down a bit. The thing that is the worst about getting older is seeing your parents and other loved ones age and eventually pass away. When you're a kid, even a high school age kid, you assume these people will just be around forever and things will always stay the same as they were. It makes it easier to be disrespectful and generally take them for granted. I'm now 35, and this year was the first where I started noticing physical limitations with my dad, especially, and that was hard. They're minor for now, but it's only going to get worse. The biggest blow to me is realizing I likely have less than 20 years left with my parents. Losing that constant source of love and support will be hard to take. They've been a rock my entire life. Not everybody is going to like you, even if you're a good person. Conversely, not everyone you like will be a good person. Had to learn that the hard way. Yeah. It wasn't until recently that I realized I was projecting my good qualities onto toxic people and was in turn being taken advantage of by them. Teenagers are just kids. It's something I quite literally was not capable of understanding until I wasn't a teenager anymore. When I was a teenager I felt so grown up, and how sometimes some adults are just kids in adult bodies, or how adults are simply just flawed human beings too. Used to look up to adults for what's right and wrong, but as we grew older, we kind of realized that adults such as our parents are simply just flawed human beings, and they may not know it all too either. Socks are a very nice gift. Yup, my first birthday, after buying a house and moving out I asked for a sweater and socks, and was very happy to have them. In my teens and 20s, I just couldn't understand how my parents were so oblivious to celebrities. They were all over TV, their names and faces blasted on everything. It seemed everybody had some strong emotionally charged opinion about every major actor, musician, director, or tabloid magnate. What are they? Living under a rock? Didn't take long to find out why. Growing up, I didn't have a pre-existing list of these are famous people. I learned them as they came onto the scene. Eventually, though, they all dropped off the list one by one. The list kept updating. It's a lot harder knowing who is a household name when you also have to know who is last week's news. I was only 30 when I realized I have no idea who famous people are anymore. I just couldn't keep up at all. I've become like my parents. Don't know, and honestly, don't care. Celebrity worship, even as cursory as simply knowing their names, is a vapid, fruitless endeavor. Today's idols are tomorrow's trash. There's really no going back, you really just get one shot with each hour you get. Just have to make your peace with the choice/path you took and keep it moving. Love. I thought I loved my wife when I was 20. Now I'm 50 and we have been together over 30 years. I realize now that when I was 20 I didn't understand what love is. I hope 70-year-old me looks back on 50-year-old me and says the same thing. Learning to live through loneliness as a child is a gift. Why the pet hamster changed color. Press F for biscuit. That everything has shades of grey / is a sliding scale. It is so easy to understand the world as absolutes when young. Suddenly realizing in my late teens / early 20s that basically nothing is an absolute was a total revelation that really steers my understanding of everything and undoubtedly makes me a better person. Money. There was a reason that you didn't get those shoes, the PS5, a new shiny car, etc. Maintaining a home and keeping the family fed is ducking expensive. The whole buying a home thing blew me away. I didn't realize how much money there was in upkeep on a home. I've lived in my home for 3 years now and had to replace the roof, furnace, and washer altogether costing close to 10k. If the door is closed, you should always knock. I have seen your name. And I don't even wanna know why you made this comment. He clearly opened a laundry room door without knocking and got a blowjob. Doesn't want us to get the same. Selfish bastard. You don't have to be happy all the time. A parent's love for their child. A year after my granddaughter was born, my daughter was telling me how wonderful her toddler is, how smart she is, and just all around lovable she is. She then said, I don't think I could ever love anyone as much as I love my daughter. Apostrophe. Then she paused for a moment as realization washed over her face. Dad, is this how much you love me? Apostrophe. Bingo. Kiddo, now you know. Apostrophe. The importance of having good insurance and how expensive it can be without getting it from job benefits. When I was a kid I watched my mom and dad refuse to let my grandparents pay for something or pay them back for something. I thought that was silly as a kid and said I wouldn't do that. But as an adult I find myself always doing the same thing I said I never would. All these comments about money and managing your finances make me kinda sad considering I was the opposite. I had to mature at a really young age because of my deadbeat waste of space father milking my mother's purse dry. She had nobody to vent to and very soon I became her confidant. At 8 years old, I don't blame her. She was struggling and needed someone, And if anything, we're as close as we are now because of it, but now I'm left with constant anxiety whenever she's a little low for the month and willingly let her pile her issues onto me, even if I regret it after. I wish more than anything I could've had just a few more years to be a normal child. Oh well. Please don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed watching this video. Leave your thoughts in the comments below.